Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We have a superstar in our hands. Mauricio Ruffy out of the Fighting Nerds in the lightweight division. Mark my words, is going to be not only a talent who's going to be very competitive in that division, but after last night, after putting Bobby Green on an absolute poster with that viral spinning heel kick KO, the guy's going places. I spoke a little bit about the Fighting Nerds, the team that he comes from. These guys are on an absolute roll. Just to rattle a couple of names off the top of my head: Chao Bajallo, Carlos Prates, John Silver. We have killers in that room. Can you imagine the sparring between those guys in and around that weight class? Exponentially making each other better. And last night was a real coming out party for Ruffy, I thought. Someone who was 2-0 in the UFC, going into that matchup with Bobby Green. And personally, I wasn't really sold yet. I thought Ruffy, although he was a very, very skilled, talented fighter, you could see that clearly. I thought the maturity maybe was lacking a little bit. He clearly loves to watch his fights back and garner those crazy Instagram reel highlights. And say less, he did that for sure last night. But regardless, I thought Bobby Green could have been someone to test that maturity and test out whether or not he's really ready for that top 15. And he passed that test with flying colors. That technique in and of itself was spectacular. And I talked about the confidence before. Not only having the confidence in your abilities to try a technique like that, but zero follow-up, man. Once that landed, he knew it was all over, and Bobby Green faceplanted was out for a good amount of time. Bobby Green, someone who's taken a lot of damage over his last 5 fights and is really getting to that twilight point of his career. But nonetheless, take nothing away from Ruffy. This was the guy that was put in front of him. And like I said, I thought Bobby Green could have made that fight quite technical, especially over the 15 minutes, if he was able to push Ruffy's conditioning base. Now, we did not see that at all. Ruffy ends the fight within the first round, like I said, with that beautiful technique. And who do you guys want to see him fight next? Because he's knocking on the door of that top 10. And from now on, it's only entertaining fights. Someone, I think, with Ruffy, there is a few questions, on the rise of a Topuria or a McGregor. It's always that next matchup that's everyone goes, all right, this is the one that's going to show that this guy's human. But Ruffy, he's striking, counter-striking especially. Speaking of someone like Conor McGregor, you can tell he's grown up watching him, taken a lot of inspiration because very, very similar bladed stance, just waiting for that counter. Very, very good at going first and third, and just has great instincts as a fighter in there. I cannot wait to see where he goes. Like I said, this one really made me a fan and has sold me on Ruffy because, don't get me wrong, I think people can still maybe exploit that maturity, but there's only one way for the guy to gain experience, which is going through the ranks. And a finish like this will just give him so much more confidence in those abilities and that ability to turn someone's lights off with one shot. That in and of itself is dangerous. The guy can change the fight at any moment with one shot. Massive lightweight. He really towered over Green in there tonight. And like I said, these Fighting Nerds, talk about momentum. Those guys are trailblazing at the moment. For sure, just killing the game. Diego Lopez, another guy who cross-trains there. They really, really have cream of the crop fighters from Southern America, and we're getting to see them. Mauricio Ruffy, who do you guys think he should fight next? Lightweight is quite an aging division, but do you put him against someone like Ignacio Bahamondes? Another prospect. Do you match him like that? Or do you try and make more of a name for Ruffy off one of these older veterans in the division? Can you see Ruffy going into a fight against Dan Hooker, someone like Gamrot, with how much star power he has and with what the UFC has in that one? I can totally see them putting him into a fight like that. But then again, I can also see them baby steps and just building into favorable matchups. Because if they do this thing right, like I said, they have a superstar on their hands. The top 15 in this division is an anomaly in the UFC. Like this featherweight, bantamweight, these lighter weight classes produce killers. Absolute killers. And it is a highly competitive division. So I think Ruffy's going to slot into that real nice and give us some very intriguing fights. Match him with the strikers, that's all I'm saying. Like him versus Dan Hooker would be a fucking war. But I'm sure the UFC has some plans of how to build this guy in a nice structured way to squeeze out all of the money they can along the way. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you could like, comment, subscribe, I would really, really appreciate that. And we'll chat soon.